Well, hey, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here tonight at Connect Group. When you step into this room and you choose to be a part of these conversations, whether you're speaking your thoughts and feelings or whether you're just listening, you are a part of living out the mission and vision that we have at this church, and that's to connect people to the heart of God. And we believe that that happens best in groups. My name is Dominic Insenius. I'm the leader here at The Heart. And before you go tonight, I want you to take some time to find your group leaders, find your group hosts, the homes that you're in, give them a high five, give them a hug, and say thank you, because it's only because of them they were able to accomplish groups like tonight and these types of connections together. If you haven't been to The Heart, or you weren't there this past Sunday, we're in the middle of a series that we're doing at The Heart called Influence. And in this series, we are looking at what it means to have community, what it means to understand what God has done in our life, and how when we share what God has done, when we share our mess and the journey that we're on and all the crazy things that are going on in our life, and we share that with others, we see that we can be impacted by that, and at the same time, others can be impacted by that. And the same thing is if we step into someone else's mess and we are there for them and we are loving them and we are doing what we can to be there for them, then how that affects them and affects us, and how through that we can become God's expression of what it means to love. So there are some scriptures we went over on Sunday, and if you weren't there at church, it's no problem. And if you haven't been able to listen to the podcast, no worries as well. You can still be a part of the conversation, even if you weren't there. If you want to, you can get your Bibles out, and we're going to look at Ecclesiastes chapter 4, and I'll have all the scriptures up on the screen here in a second. We looked at 1 John chapter 4 and a little bit of Romans chapter 1, verse 12. Again, they'll all be up here in a second, so you can look at those. And I want us to read through those and then kind of dig into these questions. So the first question for tonight is, do you embrace your mess or do you hide your mess? Because some of us, maybe we embrace part of our mess and maybe we hide part of our mess, right? There's some parts we're okay with, some parts we're not. So I want to know is, if you embrace your mess, why do you embrace it? What do you do with that? And if you hide your mess, why are you hiding it? What are you doing on that side? So do you embrace your mess and do you hide your mess, and why? So let's take a few minutes to talk through that together and see what you guys come up with. All right, now we're going to dig a little bit deeper into this line of questioning, and we're going to talk about a mess again, but I want to talk about someone else's mess. I want you to take some time and to be brave and to be bold and share here is, describe a time when you stepped into someone else's mess. Someone else is having a hard time. They were going through something, and you took the time to step into their mess, to love them through it, to be in the mess with them so they wouldn't be alone. And I want you to talk about how that affected you and also how it affected them. Because that's kind of what we're talking about in this series, is that when we share our mess, not only do we grow, but the people grow who we share it with. And on the other side of that, when we step into someone else's mess, we help them to grow and we grow as well. So when we take the time to share our messes together, growth happens for both of us. So when is a time, describe that time that you stepped into someone else's mess. How did that affect you, and how did that affect them? So let's take a few minutes to talk through that together. All right, one of the key things we talked about on Sunday is that we are asked to and called to, and one of the main things Jesus would talk about is that we need to love one another. In fact, in the New Testament, it describes that people will know us by the love that we have for one another. People will know followers of Jesus. So if you are a follower of Jesus, people will know you by the love that you have for each other. So it's easy to talk about that we need to love one another, that we need to love each other. But what sometimes can be a little bit difficult is receiving love. So I want to know from you is, why is it important to not just love others, but to receive love as well, to accept love from the people around us? Why is that also just as important as loving people, as reaching out in love? Why is it just as important to receive love? So let's take a few minutes, talk through that, and let's see what you guys come up with. All right, the last question for tonight has to do with applying this into our life, and that's key, right? We don't want to just learn about God. We want to know God more, and we want to take what we're learning, what we're trying to understand and apply it into our life to see how we can take steps in this journey of faith and do that together. So what I want to ask you is how this week and the next couple of days and the next day or two, whatever it happens to be for you, how will you choose to embrace a part of your mess or your whole mess or something about your life? How will you choose to embrace your mess and then take a further step and invite someone into that mess? And that's going to require you being vulnerable and you being bold and you being brave and inviting someone in and sharing that mess with you. So how this week are you going to embrace your mess and invite someone into that? So let's talk through that together. And this is going to be the last question for the night. So I'll leave you here. I love you guys very, very much. And I hope you have a great rest of your week. We'll see you Sunday, where we are going to conclude our message series on influence. If you serve here at the Heart, thank you so much for serving. We absolutely love you. Don't forget that this Friday at 6:30, we are having HC Momentum Live, and we want you to come out so we can celebrate you and show you how much we love you and pour into you as leaders, and also give you some fajitas as well, because we love you a bunch. And also Family Day is coming up on Saturday from 2 to 4. Love you guys. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you soon.